now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
What's going on, RBLR Nation? You are listening to the Rays podcast. I am Zach. I mean, you know me. And with me today, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ben Whitelaw. How are we doing today, brother?
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Oh, it's going. Beautiful day, man. Beautiful day. Just gonna talk some baseball with you, man. Today we're doing some. Well, actually, no, not even to get right into reviews. We got a little bit of baseball news this week.
Yeah, we did. That was. I guess news is a nice way to put it. It was. It was good, but it was also, it's listening to the press conference and the fallout from the announcement has been interesting, I guess.
Kind of gives me a new, I don't want to say respect, but a new, I don't even know what the right word is for Mr. Stu over there.
Yeah, it's interesting how they are. I mean, I guess he's doing it mostly, but how he's like framing the discussion to be like, yeah, everybody really wanted this to happen. And then, unfortunately, we're all so sad that it didn't happen. Like, not that many people really wanted that to happen. So, he's doing it's more of like I guess I'm more interested than mad because, like, obviously it's annoying that they're doing this stuff, but it's really interesting how he's just kind of, like, ignoring all the facts and the data and the statistics about how, like, Tampa, if we had a stadium in Tampa, it could realistically support a major league team. And that's, like, not even going. I mean, it is going through his brain, but he's just ignoring it. So it's very interesting, like, misinformation campaign almost. But it's I'm glad that the league rejected it officially.
Yeah, me too. I was super excited when I saw it. I posted on Twitter like, let's go. Like, I'm ready for Tampa to stay in Tampa, or well, St. Pete, Tampa. But it was one of those things where, like, watching the press conference and stuff, it almost feels like he's trying to backpedal all the stuff that he said.
Yeah.
Like, no, we never had any issues with Tampa, but this is just what we wanted. And it's like, well, that's not what you said a couple months ago when this was all going down.
It's interesting how, like, recently, like, the Times published that piece where, like, all those business leaders were, signing off in support of this plan, but where are they at now? Where's all that support now?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. It makes me wonder how, I guess, yeah, never mind. I'll just drop it there. I'll let those guys off the hook. I mean, probably shouldn't, but some of their decision making has been interesting in this whole thing as well. So. Nobody at the press conference, though, asked about the sign, like, if it was real.
Exactly.
Nobody has this sign actually been printed? Is this real? Nobody had the courage to ask that. So
we need the answers,
maybe next time.
Stu.
Yeah, we got to get Eureka in there. We got to give him a press pass for that Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I guess we'll probably end up having more discussion on that at some point in the future on the show. But today we're going to review some pitchers, man.
Yeah, I think letting the dust settle a little bit on the stadium stuff, and then, we can jump in, sometime in the near future. But yeah, pitchers, I'm excited. Do you want to rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first? Winner goes first?
All right, let's do it.
All right, 1, 2, 3, rock.
Paper. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
I mean, I always pick rock. That's my strategy, so...
It'll work eventually, because I'm going to pick scissors just for you to go first one day. All right.
Sounds good.
So, today I got Drew Rasmussen. I was a believer of him as soon as he started starting for the Rays. We got him in a trade. It was actually the Willy Adames and Trevor Richards trade. We got him and JP Fireeisen. So, Mr. Rasmussen was drafted actually 3 different times. He was drafted by the Diamondbacks in 2014 out of Mount Spokane High School. Then drafted by the Rays in the first round, 31st overall in the 2017 draft from Oregon State, which little insight on Zach, on this guy here. Oregon State is my favorite college as far as sports and stuff because I used to live out that way. So I'd be lying if I said I knew that he went to Oregon State, but it is my favorite college. And then he was drafted again by the Brewers. He couldn't sign with Tampa, or Tampa elected not to sign him after they drafted him because he failed a physical and had to have Tommy John surgery. So he went back to Oregon State to rehab and got drafted in 2018 in the 6th round by the Brewers, which is where he started his career off. Anyway, so we traded Willy Adames and Trevor Richards to Milwaukee to get him and Fire Eisen, and he came in, went to AAA to start off, and then very quickly made his way up to the majors with us. And it's kind of funny because in the trade, he actually was referred to as a closer, a potential future closer. Yeah. and that is not what's happening as of right now.
No, yeah, they're stretching him out. They really like what he's able to do, even with like a lower velocity. Because like as a bullpen piece, he can really just empty the tank, throw hard, hit almost triple digits. Mm-hmm. But as a starter, he's still been weirdly effective. And I have some questions about his pitches and stuff like that later. But yeah, I'll let you continue.
Yeah. Okay. So. I'm actually going to get into some of the pitch stuff here in a second, which is nice. But so he came in, he appeared in 20 games total for Tampa, and I'm only going off of his Tampa stats. I didn't go into his Milwaukee stats because he did have one loss in Milwaukee. So I'm going to say he's undefeated, but I know that he's technically 4-1 on the season, just not with us. So in Tampa, he started 10 of those 20 games he appeared in. And had a 4-0 record with a 2.44 ERA. He threw in 59 innings for us, allowing 44 hits, 16 earned runs, only 3 home runs, but he also only struck out 48 batters. And kind of just to get into that, he's kind of built with he possesses a 97 mile an hour fastball. But his slider, he's really only a 2-pitch pitcher, and his second pitch is that slider, and it picked up movement towards the end of the season, but for a majority of the season, he has a sub 30% whiff rate, and with a guy who's throwing 97 on a fastball, you'd expect that slider with any kind of movement to have a higher whiff rate than that. So for him to only be striking out 20.9% of the batters that he's facing, it's kind of like we got to figure out how to get that second pitch better and maybe add a third pitch.
Yeah, definitely. I think adding a third pitch would be like the next step in getting him to where he needs to be. But the spin on all of his pitches is amazing. Like his release points are all like really consistent. He's got so many great tools. He hasn't just put it all together yet. So it'll be interesting to see how he like kind of develops this off season. If he's able to get some work this spring, who knows where we're going to be in a couple months. Hopefully, he'll be able to get his work in. But he seems like the kind of guy that would head over to a pitching lab on his own and take care of business. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and actually, that's kind of funny that you mentioned the spin and the release point. Is they actually added the when he got to the Rays, he added .52, or he was clocked in a 97.52 on average in perceived velocity. Thanks to they actually had him add extension onto his release. Mm-hmm. So he was towards the top, kind of average with Tampa. It was kind of a funny stat because Tampa's average, I've got to look up that exact number. I mistakenly did not add that in my notes. Tampa had the second highest average release extension as a pitching staff, and Drew Rasmussen is towards the top of the league, but he's just average with Tampa in that stat. Which is kind of crazy to me.
No, yeah, he does so many things well, and it's Like you mentioned, like the whiff rates and stuff. I think it will come. It's just losing that velocity as a starter. Getting stretched out more has hurt his chances there because he really was more of a strikeout guy as a reliever, but now we're seeing more of a pitch to contact approach as a starter, and I don't really understand if that's by design or if it's just because he can't get the velocity up yet. But I'm sure the Rays have a plan for him, or they wouldn't have drafted him or tried to draft him and then go out and acquire him for such a big piece like Willy Adames. So
yeah, I'd say Willy Adames was a big trade piece too. It wasn't just one of our prospects that would probably never make the majors because we have so much depth. He was our starter for us.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and I mean, so basically, with his 1.6 win above replacement, he was one of our better pitchers this season, and I foresee that becoming him becoming a regular in our system. To jump into kind of my predictions for 2022, I see him being our number 2 pitcher behind Shane McClanahan. I know we just signed Corey Kluber, but I think that Drew Rasmussen is going to be number 2 behind McClanahan, and we could see just more improvement than we did this year in the short stint that he was a starter for us.
So, what pitch do you think he's gonna make his third pitch as he develops? Because we saw as a starter, he had some pretty good luck during the regular season. He had I'm putting up here a 197 batting average on balls in play as a starter, which is in this past season, which is really crazy low and pretty unsustainable. We saw him get hit around by the Red Sox a little bit, which is a little concerning because it is like a righty heavy lineup, and Drew Rasmussen's a righty. So, what pitch is he going to add as his third pitch, do you think? Either the changeup or the curve?
So that's what I think it's going to be. If it were me throwing 97 miles an hour, I would try to throw a changeup in there. But with the ball movement that he has, or that he had towards the end of the season, I don't think a curveball would be a bad idea.
Yeah, it looks like his curveball is okay. I mean, the changeup and the curve, like the spin is good on both because he can spin the ball like crazy, but the movement is just either right around average or very far below average, both horizontally and vertically. So it's really hard to say like which one of these he's going to tinker with to improve because they're both just not that good. Even though he didn't throw a ton of either of them, they're just not very good pitches. So.
And that was the one thing I read up on with his slider is, again, this was all until the end of the season, but it was more on like a one plane, just up and down movement. There wasn't very much down into the left movement or down into the right, down into the left, yeah, because he's so towards the end of the season he started working on his slider and made the movement a little more drastic. Which was well perceived against the batters. So I think that whatever he can do as far as whatever one he can get better at, because like you said, they're just kind of average. I mean, he's only throwing them, the curveball is 2.6% of the time, and changeup is 2.4% according to what I'm looking at on Baseball Savant. So whatever one he feels more comfortable with at this point is what I would say he should add. I think either one of them would help in the long term.
Yeah, definitely, because he needs that second pitch in order to, if he wants to be a starter. I mean, he needs a third pitch to be a starter. He could be a fantastic reliever with what he's got, but the first time through an order, I pulled it up a little while ago, he's got a 2.16 FIP, so field independent pitching, which is basically ERA. It just doesn't, account for the batters. It's like just what pitchers can do. So he's got a 2.6 FIP first time through the order, and then it doubles to a 4.36 second time through the order. So like after they each, the batters see each of those two pitches that he throws, like they can pick up on it fairly easily. He got pretty lucky though. Like I said, he had the 197 batting average on balls in play, but he's got to get that third pitch if he wants to be someone that can go more than 3 or 4 innings, really.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things that you and I had talked about in this season was that he's more of a long-term opener when he first starting. God, that sounds weird to say. But when he first started being a starter, that was one of the conversations we had was that yeah, we'll get him for 3 innings, maybe 4, and then they're just going to bring in relief guys. And you weren't wrong in that. That was usually what happened. He didn't get very many revisits through the lineup. And that was kind of the issue. And I think that, like you said, if he can build up that third pitch, he very, very well could slot in as our second best pitcher right now.
Yeah, I really believe that too. I mean, he's got and he's got really good stuff like underlying metrics. He just hasn't put it all together. And Kevin Cash said he believes in him. Like Kevin Cash during an interview one time, he said something like he's got 4 great pitches, and he has 2 great pitches from what we've seen, but the changeup and the curve really haven't come along yet. So. Yeah, he really just needs a third pitch. That's it for him. Once he gets that, he's set. He can pitch. He's got that mentality. He knows how to pitch. He's not just like a thrower. So yeah, hopefully that the changeup, curveball, maybe he adds in a cutter, because I know the slider is like more of an up and down type of slider, which is the Rays like those as much as the sweeper. So if he can get like kind of like a sweeping cutter, that might be a good pitch. Just something he can throw like 10% of the time to keep guys off balance, because right now fastball is great. He can throw it to both sides of the plate. Slider is good. He can throw it to righties, not so much to lefties. He just needs some pitch that can get lefties out. So actually a cutter would probably be a really bad choice then. So don't do a cutter. I'm
thinking a curveball at that point. For a righty, I'm thinking a curveball is probably his best bet.
Yeah, and maybe
because it looks like he's dropping down to the inside of a righty.
Yeah. Dang. Okay, yeah, it's going to have to be something that is either, drops like a curveball or fades, arm side like a changeup. So, I don't know, maybe he can learn a screwball. That would be kind of cool.
Just give him the U-fist.
Blow his arm up, yeah.
Just teach him how to throw a U-fist, we'll be good to go. But yeah, so basically, man, like I said, not to cut mine too short, because I know we're going to have a good one with you, but 2022, I see him being one of our better pitchers. If he picks up a third pitch, could be one of the top, one of the top guys in the game, and definitely in the American League.
Yeah. What if he doesn't end up getting that third pitch? Where do you see him ending up this season? Do you think they'll keep him as a starter, or? So I think they'll do kind of what they were doing in the beginning when they started him, where he would start, and then he'd have an extra day's rest, as opposed to like the traditional starter rest time. They were giving him an extra day of rest. So I could see it being kind of like that situation, with him, coming in, throwing 3 or 4 innings, probably closer to 3 if he doesn't add the third pitch. Closer to 3, and then having an extra day's rest, and then doing the same thing. So I think he'll stay a starter, but not a traditional starter if he doesn't add that third pitch. Yeah, that makes sense. I could see him in like a Colin McHugh type role, where it's like every 3 or 4 days he's coming out throwing like 2 to 3 innings, and that might be enough for him, because McHugh was mostly just a 2-pitch kind of guy as well. He had a better he had better secondary stuff than Rasmussen, but his fastball and his slider are just on a whole nother level. So I do like him, getting as much game time as possible, but I think a McHugh role is, what he might end up as without a third pitch. And then really worst case scenario, he's like an elite back of the bullpen guy, because he has 2 really, really good pitches, and he could really shut down a game and make it a lot shorter for the other team. Yeah, that's kind of I was gonna add that kind of like you said, worst case scenario. I mean, he could be, especially with Nick Anderson, us not knowing how healthy he's gonna be. I mean, he could slot right into our closer role if he doesn't work out as a starter. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, worst case scenario, he still could be one of the best pitchers on our team in standards of his position as a pitcher. Yeah, I mean, he's got some of the best stuff, so I agree. That sounds pretty good.
So either way, the future's bright for Rasmussen. I would like to see him continue as a starter because I do like him and I like what he has. But worst case scenario, he could be one of our best relief guys and still be a success story with the Rays.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that happening. So, yeah, hopefully, he figures that out because I really like what he could do. It's just a matter of, putting it all together for each start or for each appearance, whatever direction they end up going with him.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's a staff that can do it, I think it's Kevin Cash, like and his staff, that can get him ready to go and be a legit number 2. I think that Cash and Snyder are the ones that could do it.
Yeah, and they're not just going to give up on him. I don't think, even though the starter thing did work out, like in terms of his results and his production, he still wasn't putting up great numbers like, behind the box score as a starter. So I don't think they're going to give up right away, but I think they'll, give him a large enough sample size to really see like, hey, is this something we can sustain long term, or is it just an experiment? But either way, he helped get him through the season. So especially when they really needed starters last year, they needed innings. So they might have just tried him starting as a necessity because of their circumstances with all these pitchers out. But we do have a lot of guys coming back from injury this season, so that might play a role. But I don't know. I kind of like the idea of having like 15 to 16 pitchers on the staff, maybe 15 or 14 actually, where everybody's just capable of going like 2, 3, 4 innings, mix and match, like lots of options that way, and I think it would make it really difficult for the other teams because you really never know what the Rays could throw at you in that.
Yeah, like
scenario.
who are they going to throw out today?
Yeah, like they could go like Rasmussen, Beeks, Fairbanks. Everybody, the first 2 go like 3 to 4 innings each, and then Fairbanks gets 2 innings, and then that's the game. Like those are 3 really good pitchers that They can mix and match like that. Like there's really no limit to these combinations that they could run with.
Yeah, exactly, and it's exciting, especially adding a guy like Kluber, who, granted, he's up there in age, but like just I feel like not to be too much of a hot take, but this is one of the best pitching staffs all around that we've ever had.
No, yeah, I think it's like. There's not a pitcher that they could put in the game where I'm like, oh, God, don't throw him in. Like, every single guy on the team can get swings and misses. He can get guys out. It's going to be a really fun season, I think, if and when we can get around to it.
Exactly. But, yeah, so that is my review for Mr. Drew Rasmussen, who, again, one of my favorite pitchers on the team, especially with Glass now being out. But so who you got covering today?
All right, I got Shane Baz. Really excited about his potential. He, came over. Well, first of all, he was the 12th overall pick in 2017 by the Pirates, so he's got some pretty high expectations. And so far, he's pretty much he's living up to those pretty well. He was the player to be named later in the Archer deal that sent Glasnow and Meadows to Tampa, which is really just insane to think about because he really threw like 70 innings with the Pirates as literally a teenager, and the Pirates were just his walk rate was like kind of high, but he was getting better. He was pitching well for a teenager, with playing against guys that were older than him, and the Pirates were like, yeah, we can just give up on him now, like this is enough. So I don't think we will ever see such a one-sided trade ever again.
Yeah,
because there's no way like an alive person would make that kind of deal. Like an alive sober person could throw him in as like an afterthought. Like just throw in the former first round 12th overall pick in this deal. Like that we already lost like an elite starter and a pretty good. I'd say a decent, left-handed bat in Meadows. He's got the potential to be better, but we've talked about that before. And then now this season he was the 2021 minor league pitcher of the year. So thank you to Pittsburgh. We appreciate it. I know they got like a new front office now, but I really appreciate everything they've done for us.
Yeah,
so.
Thank you, the old guys, because like you said, I've never seen a more one-sided trade in baseball.
Like, yeah, I mean, it was one-sided when it originally happened, but since it's been, everything's played out a bit, the dust has settled, it's gotten even worse for Pittsburgh. So,
Yeah,
they definitely set their franchise back.
Considering we got Archer back.
Yeah, exactly.
So we literally have everything that we lost back.
Like, Archer wasn't, great last season. He was injured. Not really, his fault when you're getting injured like that.
Yeah,
much.
exactly.
He was still all right when he was here, and just the fact that the Rays got him back after, acquiring all three, it's a mess. Yeah.
I'm not mad about it.
No, absolutely not. But it was definitely like somebody turned on the real life sliders to like force trades, like it's MLB The Show. So somebody, did that, and I don't know. Maybe Neander's just really, really persuasive. I don't get it, but yeah, I'll just get into Bozz's stuff here. So this season he jumped around 3 different levels. He started out in AA, then went to AAA, and eventually made his major league debut near the end of the season. In AA he threw 32.2 innings, had a 1.96 FIP with a 40% strikeout rate and an insane 1.7 walk rate. These are just video game numbers, so the Rays decided to, turn up those sliders, make the difficulty a little bit harder. Sent him to AAA, where, he came back to earth, but he was still really, really good. In 46 innings, he had a 3.32 FIP and a 36 strikeout rate with a 6.2 walk rate. So again, came back to earth a little bit, but he was still really, really good. Like, that's one of, the top pitchers in the league if you're putting up those numbers. And then in the majors, he definitely had his ups and downs. He had a pretty cool debut. The home run ball was, a little bit unfair, but he had a 4.07 FIP, 36.7 strikeout rate. So his stuff was, really, it's the real deal. Like, he can, get guys out. And a really solid, again, 6.1 walk rate in his 13 innings in the majors. So he's got, the tools, and he, got some pretty good results. It could be better. I think, we're going to see some regression in some areas, but some improvement in others as we head into the 2022 season. But I just want to break down some of his pitches real quick, because he throws 3 really good pitches and then a 4th pitch that's, it's better than he thinks, so he just needs to trust it. But any questions so far here before I move on?
Nope. Pitches is right where I was gonna go with it. So I was actually just looking him up on Baseball Savant again, and yeah, his pitches are the amount that he throws the top 3 is pretty crazy. It's pretty evenly.
Yeah.
So I'll let you explain it though before I ask anything.
Definitely, he's got a really good 4-pitch mix. He actually spins the ball pretty much the same as Rasmussen, only in a small sample size, so we don't really have like good numbers to compare it on, but based on what he's done so far, he's got really good spin. It's near the the 90th percentile for all his pitches. His fastball is where he makes his money, though. It can touch 100 miles an hour as a starter, so he can really bring it when he's pitching. He throws from a relatively low release point and almost a 3/4 arm slot, like it's pretty high. But it's like not exactly over the top, so that's kind of like a flat release point where the ball just like in a straight line goes to home plate, which contributes to like his rise that he gets on the fastball of an average of 11.2 inches, which if we had a large enough sample size, that'd put him in the top 15 in baseball, which is like right up there with Pete Fairbanks. So they both have that really good rise, and Shane Baz does it as a starter, which is really cool. So fastball is definitely his best pitch. It pairs really well with his curveball because they have like the same spin, just in opposite directions, so they're kind of like inverses, and he's really good with his release point, so it looks the same coming out of the hand, except the curve drops like 55 inches or something like that, and the fastball almost, it looks like it's rising, but it's technically not, but it rises 11 inches, so that huge over 60 inches of separation creates a lot of swing and miss between those two pitches, and he throws it to both sides of the plate. So fastball curve is really solid, and so I'll get into his curve here. His curve sits about like 82, 84, and like I said, it pairs well with his fastball, and it's a really interesting curve because it's pretty close to like the old like 12-6 curve that they used to throw, where it's like straight up and then straight down, but it's a little bit off to the side. It's like, if we're looking at like a clock analogy here, it's like more of a 1 to 7 curve. and he throws it to both sides of the plate really well. And because it's not like too much of a sweeping curve, he can throw it to lefties and not get absolutely crushed. So, yeah, just really, his stuff is insane. The control has always been, the question mark for him, but since arriving at the Rays, like, he has had almost no issues with walks. So, yeah, I don't understand why Pittsburgh gave up on him so quickly. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
but getting into the slider. Oh no, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, looking at just the splits of like, not splits, but the four tools that he has, I don't understand. Like, he's throwing a 97-mile-an-hour fastball and an 82.5-mile-an-hour curveball. Like, how are you doing that? Like,
yeah,
and how are you letting that walk?
There's really no explanation for it. Like, it's just amazing, and we're very lucky that they, allowed that trade to happen. But his next pitch here is the slider. Really good. Again, it's right up there with his curve. Fastball is still the best pitch, but slider and curve are both really good. It sits like 86 to 88, so it's a really firm curveball, and it's more of like a gyrating curveball, I guess, where it's like up and down, not much of a sweeper. Kind of like JT Chargois, where it's like, and even Diego Castillo, for that matter, before he left, it's like an up and down slider, so it's kind of like his curve in a way that it doesn't sweep much, but it's just much harder, and it's still really hard to hit because it's a strong pitch. He won't throw it to righties, he won't throw it to lefties. That's what it was, because it would probably get destroyed. So he mostly just throws it to right-handed batters. But again, it's a really good pitch. It's got a 40.7 whiff rate. I forgot to mention his curve has a 50% whiff rate. Fastball has a 30% whiff rate. So he's just gets so many swings and misses. But I think the secret to him having, moving from really good to elite is going to be that changeup, because, that 3-pitch mix is really good. It can get most guys out, especially at the minor league level. But to be like an elite starter, you got to kind of have a fourth pitch. And that changeup might be the key to that. It had a 20% whiff rate, which isn't great. It's pretty much the same speed as his slider, except it has a little bit of arm side run, and it actually has 25% more arm side run than average. So it can really end up being this great pitch. He just doesn't trust it as much, and he kind of like changes his mechanics when he throws it. I don't know if it's out of like concern or just he hasn't figured it out yet, but it's got a pretty low vertical release point. So when he's throwing the changeup, batters know the changeup is coming because it looks so different from the other pitches. He almost tips it in that way because, he throws it from such a lower release point. But it's a great change of pace, and I think it could be the key to success for him getting lefties out a little bit more easily because it has that arm side run. So looking forward to the development of the changeup this season for sure.
So do you think that the change of mechanics could, like you said, could just be a confidence thing, and the more comfortable that he gets in the majors, because again, he hasn't had very much time at the majors. So do you think that that's something that will come with time, as far as, once he starts throwing it and getting people out, he'll be like, all right, I can do this.
I think he's almost like too aware of his changeup, like I think he knows that the release point isn't consistent, so it's making him like a little uncertain about throwing it. He's got such like a pitcher mentality where he's like, I'm going to get you out and there's nothing you can do about it. But with that changeup, it's just he's like babying the pitch a little bit, and I think he really just needs to throw it, just grip it and rip it. Don't even think about it. Trust your stuff, because the changeup is really good. Like, scouts have it on like the same level as his fastball when he was like initially drafted. Like, I think they were both like a 60 grade on the 20 to 80 scale.
Wow. So
it's a good pitch. Like, it's awesome. He just has to, trust it. And obviously you got to work on your mechanics a little bit first there with it. But yeah, I'm really excited to see him throw it, because I know that it's going to be a good pitch to get lefties. He just has to like let it happen. So his projections, though, look really good for 2022. He had a 120 batting average on balls in play in this past season. Obviously, it's 13 innings, so small sample size. And he had a 2-run difference between his ERA and his FIP. So his ERA was fantastic in the majors, but his FIP was not. He's still projected to be pretty good. He's just definitely going to regress a little bit in those areas. Like, his ERA is going to go up. closer to his FIP most likely. The batting average on balls in play is going to go up. But something that's going to see some positive regression is his home run to fly ball rate, because he did give up 3 home runs in 13 innings, which that's just not a sustainable pace at all. Like, he's a really good pitcher. He just, left a couple hanging sliders a couple times, or maybe a fastball or 2 down the middle. But either way, home runs are going to drop. And Steamer on Fangraphs actually has him projected at a 3.81 FIP, which is really good, a 27% strikeout rate, an 8% walk rate, and about 118 innings pitched, which is, I would take those stats any day. Like, that's some really solid production from
those are great stats,
a rookie
yeah.
pitcher. Yeah, exactly. And just for some comparison there, to put those numbers in perspective, Shohei Ohtani won Rookie of the Year in 2018 as a DH and a starting pitcher. So I'm not really going to consider his starting pitcher numbers, because they were good, but he was also a great hitter too. So the last starter to win Rookie of the Year was Michael Fulmer from Detroit in 2016, and he did it with a 3.76 FIP, a 20.4% strikeout rate, and a 6.5% walk rate. Bozz is projected to have like about the same FIP, a much higher strikeout rate, and a little bit higher of a walk rate. So if he literally just performs to those relatively like conservative projections from Fangraphs, he's probably going to be a Rookie of the Year finalist, which is really awesome, because that's basically his floor this season. So his floor, I'm saying, is probably going to be a finalist for Rookie of the Year. Best case scenario, he's like an all-star, definitely wins Rookie of the Year. So the future's really bright for him. He's really, on the rise, and I'm just so thankful for the city of Pittsburgh for doing that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more as far as just being thankful for Pittsburgh. But my question to you is, do you see 2022 being the year that Baz just becomes one of our bottom end starters?
I have a feeling he's going to start the year in AAA, just because I don't think throwing him into the majors without, a fully developed changeup is a good idea for him, because the hitters are going to, be looking at the tape for his fastball and his slider. His curveball is good, but he's still going to need like a 4th pitch, really, because he's someone that his control is an issue. So he has to have like a 4th pitch to keep guys off balance. It's not like Rasmussen, where he's got really good control, so he really just needs a 3rd pitch. Like, Bozz's control it's gotten better, but the 4th pitch is really going to just take him to another level where he doesn't have to be like super fine and like try to paint the corners. So I think they might start him in AAA. I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the opening day roster, but just based on the guys that are coming back from injuries, signing Kluber, signing Brooks Raley, like they've got a pretty full pitching roster. I know Tommy Romero is going to be a guy that's going to compete for an opening day roster spot. Even Aaron Sledgers, I know the Rays Metrics guy on Twitter, he put out an article about him recently. Really, really great stuff. If you don't follow him, go follow him now. So yeah, there are just so many pitchers that, like, if Bozz isn't on the opening day roster, I wouldn't be surprised. But he'll pitch a lot this season. I think he'll go, he'll give us at least 100 innings at the major league level, which would be nice, because he's still pretty young. You gotta keep that arm healthy. Don't overwork him. So yeah, start off in AAA maybe, and then figure out the changeup, come up, and then become a Rookie of the Year. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be amazing. That would be perfect. The perfect scenario right there.
Yeah. I mean, even better would be like if he's like the number 1 starter, like becomes MVP, but wins Cy Young, whatever. Win Cy Young and MVP your rookie season. That'd be pretty
all
cool.
In your rookie season. Let's see it happen, Shane. Let's see it happen, Mr. Bozz.
Yeah, just literally lift up your arm a little bit more on the changeup, and you're good. That's it. I mean, easier said than done, but yeah. All right,
yeah.
So I guess we're good then. Any other thoughts on these players before we wrap it up?
No, not necessarily on these players, but we haven't really talked about it on the show. I just checked on Discord, and the Rays lost one of their bullpen catcher, Mr. Jean Ramirez, 2 weeks back now. So just want to condolences to his family and the team in general, and just it came out that he died of suicide. So if you're ever feeling any kind of way, there's people that you could talk to. Hell, you could message me and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, it's a pretty horrible situation for him, his family, the team, because all the pitchers came out like offering their condolences immediately. Like, he's a guy that is around the team all the time. The pitchers know him; they throw to him like every single day. It's crazy. I think he was at the All-Star game because Kevin Cash brought his staff to the All-Star game. So just a really underrated big figure in Rays baseball that we unfortunately lost. So
yeah, haven't heard a single complaint about him. Everything's been just super outstanding, and just again, it's just that suffering and silence kind of a deal, which is sad to see.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so on to a more positive note. But yeah, so we that's the show for today. Mr. Ben, I know you love doing the shirt stuff, so I'm gonna throw it over to you to get the shirt stuff out there for us.
Yeah, so if you all haven't taken advantage of it yet, we still have that promo code FLAPPY for 10% off your order. FLAPPY. Go to shop.rblrsports.com, buy some shirts. It would be a great Valentine's Day gift. Everyone that you care about, that you love on Valentine's Day, definitely wants a shirt from us. They told us, so just trust me on that. And yeah, so maybe you can, wrap it up like a heart, give it to someone that you care about, give it to us, or actually don't. Either way is fine. We've got them in all the colors of our Rays, our Bucks, our Lightning, our Rowdies, all that stuff. Our link will be in the description. And if, in addition to buying 100 shirts each, which I know you're going to go do right now because you would get 10% off your order, that's, a lot of money. You can also follow us at rblrsports.com on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can like and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify. You could give us a 5-star review. That would be awesome. It's really easy. You just tap twice on the little thing and then you're good. We're also on the iHeartRadio app, Apple and Google Podcasts. I know we're on YouTube and other major podcasting platforms. So that covers all of our stuff. I'm going to check the Discord, make sure we're good. And yeah, I think we are good.
All right, good deal. Well, as always, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for stopping by. If it's your first time listening, make sure, like he said, subscribe. We'll be here. We're here every Saturday. So we love you guys. Go Rays.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.